Hi guys, the Mental Maniac back again, and in this video, I'm going to be showing off 11 of the rarest items in my music collection. Now, this is not, 11 most expensive, but 11 most rarest. So, there are things on this list that aren't necessarily that expensive. Hell, there's at least one or two things on here that are actually average, cost, but are still pretty rare. But yeah, so 11 rarest things in my music collection. This is gonna go from the beginning of this video, from the least rarest to the end of the video will be the stuff that's the most rarest. So yeah, so let's see. First off, it would be the Judas Priest live album, 98 Live Meltdown. Now, this is probably, even though it's rare, it's probably the least rarest in my collection because you could probably still find this on eBay. I don't think there's ever been a listing for this on Amazon, but once in a while you'll come across a listing for this on eBay. Um, the only problem is that most of the time it's a used copy. Very, very, very. See, this one I got was mint condition, but even though you could probably once in a while find this on eBay, most of the time it'll be a used copy. So yeah. Very underrated live album. Probably the best live album Judas Priest has ever released. This, of course, was released during the Ripper Owens era of Judas Priest, my personal favorite era. Um, this contains a couple songs from the Jugulator album, live versions. Bloodstained, um, Burn in Hell, Bullet Train, Death Row, Abductors, and yeah. Also, this is one of the most diverse Judas Priest live albums because you have stuff from pretty much all the eras up until, the year this was released, 1998. So you have live songs on here from like, the 70s albums, the 80s albums, even the two 90s albums at the time. Of course, Judas Priest's 90s era. What was it? Oh yeah, Painkiller, then Jugulator. Um, so pretty much you have a pretty diverse range of songs from almost pretty much every era of Judas Priest up until 1998. Um, Also, you have a pretty amazing acoustic version of the song Diamonds and Rust. But yeah, very, very, very good album. Very underrated, but really hard, kind of hard to find, especially in mint condition. Um, but yeah, there's that. Alright, next up would be, um, here we go. Alright, next up is Judas Priest's album Jugulator on vinyl. Um, just to let you guys know, this album was never officially released on vinyl. This is a bootleg. But honestly, it's one of the best sounding bootlegs I've ever heard. Um, it's definitely worth picking up if you want this album on vinyl. Again, sounds pretty. It sounds pretty official. Although the color palette is a bit wonky on the picture, it's a little bit too bright. Um, this is also a set of two colored vinyl. For some reason, it's in a regular a vinyl case instead of a two-part gatefold like double vinyls usually are. Let's see. There we go. You get sort of a marble kind of red vinyl for the one of them. And then with the other vinyl, it's a brighter red. It kind of looks like a sort of color muted a bit on the camera. This is a bright red, but on the camera it kind of looks a little bit muted. But yeah, so even though this is a bootleg, it's one that actually has very good audio quality. Actually sounds, official. Um, and the only reason I have a bootleg of this album on vinyl, again, because this album was never officially released on vinyl, which is unfortunate. But you get some pretty cool colored vinyl. Sounds great, and you do get a poster of the full artwork. Although for some reason it has the lineup of Painkiller on here instead of the lineup of Jugulator. Most notably, Rob Halford's there instead of Rick Owens. But yeah, you could probably find this on Amazon, not on Amazon, on eBay once in a great while. I didn't pay too much for this one, but who knows what it goes for now. There's the front, and then there's the back. Also, really cool insignia. I actually like this version better than the Rob Halford sort of trident / pitchfork version. I like how this one's sort of a battle axe looking thing. Alright. Alright, next up. Alright. Next up is this variant of the Iron Maiden live album, made in Japan. This is another bootleg, but it's a very good bootleg, just like the Jugulator album. This sounds very official. The audio is, it's perfect. Like, the audio is not bad whatsoever. So it's not like the audio sounds official. This looks official too. You have the actual artwork there, the official artwork. You have some stuff on the back there. The disc and everything looks official. Now, the reason why I have this bootleg instead of the official version, it's for two reasons. First off, the original version, I think it was only ever released on vinyl, and the vinyl goes for well over $200. For the most time, sometimes you'll find something a version that's like a vinyl one that's cheaper, but it's in pretty bad condition. This is the full version. This is the only reason why I own this one and haven't tried to get, the official one, mainly because it's expensive and it's basically an extremely cut and extremely a downsized version of the track listing. The official version, it's either a 5-track or a 4-track one. This version, even though it's a bootleg, it has the entire set list of that live show. So you can see there are actually 17 tracks instead of 4 or 5 tracks that would be on an official version. But like I said, it sounds amazing. The audio is, sounds very official. Other than some obvious cuts in between songs, the audio does, cut like from time to time. Like when one song finishes, there's a brief cut in audio, then the next song goes. But then, that's really the only issue. Otherwise, it sounds very good. The audio quality is high quality, and it sounds official for the most part. But yeah, this isn't too rare, but it is. You definitely have to, be a little bit patient, and one will show up on Amazon. Not Amazon. One will eventually show up on eBay for a pretty reasonable price. Um, but yeah, there's that. All right. Next up is an extended version of the Soundhouse tapes. A bunch of demos and just a bunch of demo recordings from the years of 1978 to 1981. This is a bootleg, but it sounds pretty official, looks official, and it's an extended track listing. There are, of course, the main track listing, which are the rehearsal recordings and demo recordings, and then the added bonus tracks are a bunch of early live show recordings. Um, Something I found very interesting in terms of the official track listing, there are one, two, uh, wait, there are two different versions of Sanctuary on here. No, three actually. Two different studio recordings that sound pretty different from each other, and then a live version which sounds pretty much like the official version we all know. But yeah, very good. Even though it's a bootleg, it sounds really good, and I love how they have bonus tracks on here as well. A bunch of live show recordings. And I love how certain songs on here have different members. Hell, there's a bunch of songs on here that are so early in Iron Maiden's career that they have almost a completely different lineup than what was ever featured on any actual studio recordings. Um, there's uh, uh, Tony Parsons, who was one of the people who left the band pretty early on. Uh, Doug Sampson, and Dennis Stratton, who did stay with the band until 1981. But yeah, very, very good bootleg. One of the best I've ever heard, and definitely something you should check out. All right, now we're getting to the official stuff. Next up is the 1995 uh, 2-disc limited edition of Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. This was a part of a series from 1995. I believe every single one of their major studio albums in 1995 got a re-release, and they were all 2-disc limited editions. So yeah, Iron Maiden, Killers, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave. I believe it was just their 80s stuff. So that, and I believe Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son. Yeah, all their 80s stuff in 1995 got re-released as 2-disc limited editions on a CD. So far, I only have this one. I don't have any of the other ones from that series yet. This is the last version of the Number of the Beast album to feature the original cover art. This, of course, has the blue sky in the background. Every version after this had the black or gray sky version. So this is 2 discs. Of course, the first disc. They have pictures on them, so I guess you could say they're picture discs. The first main disc is the main original track listing. It has the picture of the artwork from the Run to the Hill single. And then the second disc has the picture of the Number the Beast single on it, and this is the bonus disc. It contains two different live recordings. One of the no, it is one live recording and one studio recording. The live recording is a live version of Remember Tomorrow, but instead of Paul Di'Anno, it has Bruce Dickinson on vocals. And then the studio recording is the song Total Eclipse, which was on the original 1982 US version of this album, which I don't own, by the way. Pretty expensive and hard to find. Um, but yeah, this is a really good version. If you were to get any versions of the original 80s releases on CD, the 1995 two-disc deluxe editions are definitely the go-to. Definitely the versions on CD of those albums you should definitely try to track down. But yeah, there's that. All right, next up is hmm um ah next up is, let's see if I can get this out of the shelf. The album Prayers of Steel by Avenger. This is their one and only album. This is not an original copy, by the way. The original copy is pretty much non-existent nowadays. I don't think you could even find an original copy of this album. But if you do find it, it's going to be the re-release. I believe this is. I can't remember when this was re-released, but I think it was like 2-3 years ago, maybe. But this was limited to 666 copies. A few of them were the standard vinyl, standard black one. A few of them were orange black split, and then a few of them were orange splatter, which this one is the orange splatter version. This is from a very underrated band from, I believe, Germany. They're kind of a mixture of old school heavy metal and old school sort of European power metal. Um, I don't know. They're classified as both on both Wikipedia and the Metal Archives. Um, Very good album. The first two songs kind of suck, but every other song on this album is really, really good. There are bonus tracks. This is a two-disc vinyl, a two-vinyl pack. Side A and side B of the first vinyl is the main track listing, and side C and side D, which is both sides of the second vinyl, are the bonus tracks. For the most part, the bonus tracks are the same exact songs on the main track listing, but demo versions. There are two songs on the bonus tracks which are not demo versions, but two songs that were originally supposed to be on the main track listing, but just didn't make the cut. Um, but yeah, very good album. Definitely recommend tracking this one down. I don't know how much this goes for on eBay now. Didn't really pay that much for it. But it was a little bit, a little bit more expensive than it would be if it was, brand new on store shelf kind of thing. I'm not going to take out both vinyls, but I'm going to take out one of them to show you the pattern on it. Like I said, this is a colored vinyl. It's the orange splatter. The other vinyl has the exact same design. Hold on. I'm going to get this out inside. The only problem I have with gatefolds is that for some reason, sometimes the vinyl is hard to get in and get out easily. I don't know why that is, but there's something with the gatefolds that for some reason sometimes they're just a really pain in the ass to get the vinyls in and out of. Um, Hold on. All right. Alright, next up is... Next up is the album Hallowed by the band Hallowed. This is another band that only ever released one album before splitting up. This is a heavy metal band from Italy. Again, this is not an original copy. Original copy is almost impossible to come across these days. This is the, I think, 2018 re-release. Again, limited to, it's a limited copies. This one's limited to 500 copies. And you know my stance on this by now. I hate the stupid limited to a certain amount of copies bullshit. Very stupid, and it actually hurts the business instead of them making the amount of money they usually would if it was, you know, standard. They make even less when they limit the copies. So yeah, kind of unfortunate. But yeah, very good, although, even though it's a re-release, like I said, it's very hard to find because it was limited to only 500. This is not a colored vinyl, by the way, this is a standard black vinyl. Although this re-release does have 2 bonus tracks on it that's integrated into the main track listing. Tracks number 4 and 5 on side 2, We Got You and Deep Coma. We Got You is pretty bland, but Deep Coma is a very good song. Now, this re-release, the sound on it, I've been told, sounds almost identical to the original release. There was very little sort of tampering with the mix. I don't really have any, you know, motive to go out and try to buy the original release, because, again, from what I've been told, it sounds almost identical. So there's not real, and the original release doesn't have the 2 bonus tracks. So, you know, I'm fine with having this version. But yeah, very, very underrated metal band from the 80s. If I were to be able to describe their sound in a very simplistic term, they sound like a mix of 80s heavy metal, 80s glam metal, and 80s pop. Sort of a weird, bizarre mix, but the mix of mix of style of music go together very well somehow, and yeah, it sounds very, very good. All right, next up is "Rock You to Hell" by Grim Reaper. This is an original American pressing. This is original U.S. pressing that has not been re-released. The first album, "See You in Hell," has had a vinyl reissue lately. I don't remember what year they re-released it on vinyl. But this album was never re-released either on vinyl or, you know, CD. I do have a CD version, by the way, but it's an original release, although it's a Japanese import. But yeah, this album was never re-released, unlike the first album. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed, considering that I think that this is the superior album. Yeah, a lot of people like the first album the best, but the first album, even though it's good, the track listing is kind of off and kind of patchy, and the audio quality on the first album is pretty much shit, especially if you listen to it on vinyl. The CD version, you know, sounds a little bit better. It sounds a little bit better with the compression, considering that, again, the audio quality is very bad and very thin, but the compression kind of helps with it. But the audio quality on the third album is way, way, way better. Honestly, it sounds a lot better on vinyl than it does on CD, unlike the first album. This one is probably their best ever album. Now, this one, again, you could probably find the CD version 10 times over compared to the vinyl version, even though both haven't had a re-release. But the CD version is it's definitely easier to find. But if you can pick up the vinyl version, if you can get it, if you ever come across it on eBay, definitely go for it because it definitely sounds a whole lot better on vinyl. Now this is the American distributor, RCA. Now, I think it's even rarer to find the UK version on vinyl. The UK version, I believe, was what was it called? I forgot what it was called. But yeah, if you want to get the original UK version, it's probably not going to happen. Um, but yeah, very good album, but kind of unfortunate that it was never re-released. But yeah. All right, what's up next? Um. Ah. Next up, going back to Iron Maiden, is the first Iron Maiden live album. Iron Maiden Live Plus One. Still don't know what the hell the plus one is there for. Now, by itself, this is not an extremely hard thing to find. I'm pretty sure you could find the original release on eBay probably a dozen times over. But this particular variant, this 1984 Greek re-release, is extremely hard to find. I was surprised that I was able to get this at a pretty decent price, actually. In mint condition too. I believe I only paid less than 20 for this. Um, so yeah, pretty good find. Now the reason why the Greek re-release is very special is because there's a bunch of bonus tracks on it that's not on any other version. Um, Now, the bonus tracks, for some reason, are integrated into the main track listing. So, I mean, yes, most of the bonus tracks are on side 2, but there's, I believe, one bonus track on side 1. I believe it's either Innocent XR or Woman in Uniform. But the side 1, which has, mostly the bonus tracks. No, sorry, bonus tracks are mostly on side 1, not side 2. Sorry about that. Mostly on side 1, even though it has the bonus track, side 1 kind of has really bad audio quality. But side 2, the side with, for the most part, the original track listing, actually sounds really good. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely worth tracking down if you're a huge fan of the Paul Di'Anno era of Iron Maiden and you want to complete your Iron Maiden discography. Definitely a good listen. Again, I was kind of flabbergasted that I was actually able to find this variant, but not only just that, but the fact that it's in mint condition and was for a pretty cheap price. Oh yeah, the vinyl also is a silver vinyl. I'm not gonna pull it out, but it's really cool looking. Um, but yeah, there's that. All right, next up is another Iron Maiden release, and that is the original 1981 U.S. edition of Killers. Now the reason why this is special is because every one of the first 3 albums, every one of their original releases has a song on it that's not on the versions you can get now. For example, the first 3 Iron Maiden albums, Iron Maiden, Killers, and Number of the Beast, the original UK versions had, you know, the standard track listing that you would see now on pretty much every version of the remastered, the 2015 remastered versions, and the early 2000 ones as well. Whereas the original version, the original US editions of those three albums had songs on them that were taken off of the newer releases. Now, for example, first album had a song "Sanctuary" that we all know from the single, but it was originally on the U.S. version of the first album. This album, this original 1981 copy, has the song "Twilight Zone" on it, and then Number of the Beast, or the U.S. version, had the song "Total Eclipse." Now, going forward, those songs would stay on the 1995 and 1998 versions of those albums, but would be later removed from the early 2000s remasters and the 2015 remasters. For whatever reason, I don't know. But if you're going for an original copy of any of them to get the original track listing, I'd say this is probably the best one. Well, the song "Sanctuary" on the original version of the first album is pretty good, but it's not like a must listen to. Same thing on Number of the Beast. Total Eclipse is pretty good, but not a must listen to. Whereas the song "Twilight Zone" is definitely a must listen. It's very good. Unfortunately, it's pretty short. It's like 2 minutes long, but it's a very, very good song. Something that is a definite must listen. But yeah, this version, um, almost extremely hard to come by. This was I got this in mint condition for a pretty really uh good price, but I was pretty, you know, surprised considering that I've seen a couple other of these go for well over $500. So I was surprised. This was 200, a little tiny bit more with shipping, but you know, it's a very good price considering the circumstances. Now this was mint condition. This was in plastic wrap and stuff. There's only a little bit of damage in the corners here, a little bit of scuff marks in here, and a little bit of, you know, rough scuff marks around this edge as well. But that was really about it. Again, it was sealed in its plastic wrap. Um, Brand new off store shelves for the most part. Again, except for the scuffing on the bottom of these corners. But yeah, very good version of Killers. Really glad to have the full track listing now. Um, but yeah, there's that. Alright, last item. The rarest thing in my music collection is the EP "I Will Be There" by Gog Magog. This was never re-released. This band was also pretty short-lived. This was a Paul Di'Anno project. Um, Paul Di'Anno, after he left Maiden, first started up a self-titled band called Di'Anno. Didn't last long, only had one album. It was a full-length album. Don't know how rare that one is, but I'm pretty sure it's very rare. Then that band, you know, broke up, and he regrouped and created the band Gog Magog. Only lasted less than a year, I think a couple of months actually. Only ever released one EP. Not even their own songs. For whatever reason, when they paired with a record label called I think Food for Thought, they were not allowed to release anything original. I don't know why. That's actually pretty stupid. The record label, kind of dumb, but they took three cover songs. They created three cover songs of songs that I probably would never knew existed if it wasn't for this EP. I will be there. I'm living in a fucking time warp, and what the hell is the other song called? I keep forgetting the other song, the third song, considering it's actually a pretty long title. Um, hold on. Uh, it's illegal, it's immoral, it's unhealthy, but it's fun. There we go. Yeah, they made three cover songs of songs that, again, I wouldn't know existed if it wasn't for this EP. Um, Now, I've never heard the original versions of these songs, but the covers are really, really good. They're very catchy. Um, they're very catchy and they're very fun. They're just very fun to listen to. Um, Anyway, yeah, this thing was not ever re-released. Actually, I'm pretty sure Paul Di'Anno was kind of ashamed of this for some reason. I don't know, but I've heard that he quoted it as "I was just there for the money, not for anything else." And I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. But he just doesn't want to admit that he was in he was in for the riot at the time. Like I don't think at the time of recording this he hated it. This did see a lot of backlash at the time. For the people who did actually know about this, by the way. Um, it was just something that I guess people didn't like because it wasn't like Paul Di'Anno to, record something very, almost pop related in a way. Oh yeah, the first solo thing he ever did, the Di'Anno album, was pretty much an '80s pop album. Nothing like heavy metal or punk related. This one is a little bit less than that. This one's it does definitely have a pop element to it, an '80s pop element to it, but it also has some, almost '70s type commercial rock influence as well. Um, so yeah, it's definitely unlike Paul Di'Anno to release something like this. But despite that, I think it's extremely underrated. It's very good, very catchy. Yeah, there's only three songs on it, but it's worth it for those. Um, this uh, is probably the rarest thing I've ever come across that I've been able to actually get my hands on in terms of, music. I only ever saw two listings for this on eBay. One that I didn't was unfortunately not able to get my hands on, but I think that's for the best considering that it did the owner who was selling it said it did have some kind of like hairline fracture on the vinyl. This one, this is pretty. This was listed as near mint. The case itself is in almost. I mean, it has some scuff marks here and there, but for the most part, it's in very good condition. And then the vinyl itself is in perfect condition. The vinyl, according to the seller, was never actually played, so that's why it's in such good condition. But yeah, overall, it's the rarest thing in my music collection. But it's definitely, if you're a fan of Paul Di'Anno, it's a definite must-have because it's just so good. Don't listen to the naysayers that say, "Oh, it's bad because it's not what Paul Di'Anno would usually put out." People just hate it because it's not punk and it's not metal, but it's still very good. But yeah, hold on, get this back in here. Alright, so that's about it for this video. I may do a follow-up video, not years later, but like, I might do a follow-up video when I get more rare stuff in my collection. That probably won't be for a while, though. I just need to, gather, more stuff, so that might take a while. But this is definitely going to be, another ongoing series of videos, where I show off more rare stuff, but that will take a while. So these videos, this particular series of videos will probably be very, sparse. Um, But yeah, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.